Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Market Forecast, brought to you by Options University. It's Monday, July 14th, 2014. We're basically about halfway through the summer doldrums, and doldrums they have not been. Access to this video is for educational and informational purposes only. Nothing contained in this video, website, or promotional material constitutes a promotion, recommendation, solicitation, or offer of any particular investment security transaction. Options University provides educational services that are meant to teach you the risks and rewards of trading stocks and options. If we're not a service that tells you what to trade, we're not implying or guaranteeing any profit, and as always, do not trade with money that you cannot afford to lose. Well, what did the market do during the last week? As we talked about, everything returns to the mean, and as we look at the Dow, the NASDAQ, the S&P 500, the Russell 2000, we look at the change for the week, we see nothing but negative numbers. Dow down 0.7% for the week, NASDAQ down 1.6%, S&P 500 down 0.9%, and leading the road down is the Russell down 4%. As the only thing that really showed any fear this week was the Russell. Looking at year-to-date numbers, we still see positive numbers coming out of everything except for the Russell, as the Dow is up 2.2% for the week, or for the year rather. NASDAQ up 5.7%, S&P 500 up 6.4%, and the Russell fell into negative numbers, down 0.3% for the year, and the only one in negative numbers. Looking at economic announcements for the coming week, let's take a look and see exactly what we can see coming for the week. As we look at Monday, we find absolutely nothing. Looking at Tuesday, we have before the market opens, retail sales at 8:30, Empire State Manufacturing at 8:30, and import and export prices, and then all is silent for the rest of the day. Looking at the midday week, looking at Wednesday, we see PPI coming out at 8:30, industrial production coming out at 9:15, and housing market index at 10 o'clock. A little bit of news on Wednesday. Then on Thursday, of course, we always have our jobless claims at 8:30 in the morning. Look at that. On top of that, housing starts from last month, and the Philly Fed coming out on Thursday at 10 a.m. And then Friday, consumer sentiment coming out at 9:55. In a consumer-driven society, this is important to us. And we've got economic leading indicators coming out at 10 a.m., which certainly has been known to move the market. Will tell us about last month, the month of June, and exactly how the economy did during that month, looking at economic indicators. Looking at the market for the last week, let's take a look at the chart of the SPX. 500 of the country's world's greatest stocks, and we see that we finally had that pullback as we got a bit of standard away from that 30-day moving average, and we see that pullback to the 30-day moving average. Now we've got a market that is in a definite uptrend, and we see a pullback to that 30-day moving average, and we see on Friday we had an inside day. What does this look like? What are we looking for? And what do we do during uptrends when we have pullbacks? You make your decision, but it looks like we've certainly got information. Wait for confirmation. All you're looking for is a higher high than Friday, or potentially a higher high than Thursday, as it's time for the market to give some kind of a bounce, barring any news. What is the overall trend? The trend is up. Could it pull back to the 50? It could be aware of that, but we call pullbacks in bull markets buying opportunities. What happens to a house as it picks up a high price? It probably will go higher over a period of time. Very few exceptions to that. Are there? Well, take advantage of the overall trend. The trend is your friend until it ends. Looking at the past week, we see that we had that pullback triggered by a little news of war and problems in the Middle East, which is not atypical and gives you that opportunity to refresh your positions in the market for you option traders and short-term traders. Looking at the Dow, let's take a look at the Dow, and we see that it also has pulled back to that 30-day moving average. Poised, wait for confirmation, but confirmation looks like it's coming, as the trend is what? Exactly, so take advantage of these pullbacks. NASDAQ comes down, pulls back, hits that 30-day moving average, and immediately we see a bit of a pop-up as we are looking for confirmation of this. We didn't get it on Friday. Monday is generally a strong day in the market and has been for quite a few months now. We'll see what happens. And then finally, looking at the weak sister of all the indexes, let's look at that Russell 2000, and we see, went through the 30, dropped down, almost hit the 50, and then an inside day on Friday. This too should respond if the overall market pulls up. A lot more volatility in that Russell 2000 than the other indexes. All right, so if We say those were the indexes. Let's take a look and see what some of the other sectors did in the market during the last week. Was there a great deal of fear? Well, we look at the VIX, which is our contrarian indicator. As it goes up, if we see an increase in fear. It's measured by how many puts are bought against it. And so we had a bit of a pullback, and was there a whole lot of put buying going on? They're not even that afraid, as the trend is still up. We see that we went all the way up to 13, which even near close to showing us a great deal of fear in the market. So we were real low at 10.5 on the VIX. There was very little fear. We had a pullback on the market, not a great deal of fear being shown. It gives us an indicator that may be time for another run in the market as the market goes through its normal cycles. What did bonds do during this last week? Well, in our normal markets, if the market pulls back, we expect some run to safety in bonds, and we see that we are near one of our we're near the high that we had just a couple weeks ago in the bonds. Not near that high that we had in May, but bonds popped up as the market pulled back, basically what we expect to see happen. Was there any big move to gold to show us that there was any fear in the market? Well, gold has had a nice little run and having a big move and up in the highs for the last 3 months. So gold's going through one of its cycles after almost a 25% pullback from its previous highs. Looking at the volume, what kind of volume did we have in the market? Well, we had kind of a mixed day, and was news oriented around Israel and the Gaza. So we'll see what happens as we had our little bit of a pullback. But barring any foreseen news, what we see is we see a pullback to a 30-day moving average, and time for those that are really interested to take advantage of that pullback. Looking at the financials, what did they do for the week? Well, they also pulled back to that 30-day moving average, but had a very difficult time closing below that, as we see resiliency coming in the financials, coming off a 3-month high. We'll see where the financials go this week. What's really happening this week is we've got earnings coming out, and there are some key companies that are going to be showing us some earnings in the financial market this week. As we look at Wells Fargo, we look at JP Morgan, we look at Bank of America, and they're going to show us exactly what they feel about how the overall economy is doing. So those will be key things for you to watch during the coming week as the market is poised for the next move up. We see, besides the financials, we see Intel has shown us a bit of a rise as it expects to benefit from the fact that we may see some new computers ordered because of Microsoft's backing off of its Windows 98 operating system. So it should be an interesting week in the market as we see earnings taking place. We're in the heart of earnings season, and that too will have an effect on the overall market. Let's take a look at the oil, and we see oil dropping way down, really having a nice little pullback here during the summer. It might be a little cheaper to fuel that boat. We'll see what happens as oil is getting, moving pretty low on its scale. Could certainly go down to that 200-day moving average. Watch for a turnaround as we've had a pullback in oil, and it does what cycles do. Moves up and down, particularly since we've got a little bit of news there in the Middle East. For those of you that are gold members, stick around. We got our stocks to watch that comes next. For the rest of you, thank you so much for being here. This is a Market Forecast brought to you by Options University. It's Monday, July 14th, 2014, and this is Butch Shorek. Thanking you for being here, and we'll see you next Monday. Thank you again.